بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 21. Translation of the ayah. O mankind, worship your Lord who created you and those before you, that you may become righteous, that you may protect yourself. I think that's his easy translation for لعلكم تتقون. Inshallah, we'll go to that later on. Now, previously what we studied is that when Quran is presented to people, you will come across three sets of people. There will be those people who will be ready to sacrifice everything, whether they themselves or their wealth, whatever it is, jan or mal. They will be ready to give that in the path of Allah. They'll be ready to submit. Yeah, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, إن الله اشترى من المؤمنين أنفسهم وأموالهم بأن لهم الجنة. So these are those people who are mu'minun. That's at the beginning. Then you will come across other people, when you present Quran to them, they are stubborn, they have ego, they have hasad, they are full of themselves. So you will face those kind of people. And then you will face those people who will be smiling at your face. You will say they are Muslim or they understand the reality and so on, but internally they will have nothing. And may Allah forbid, majority of us could include in that, where we show that we are Muslims, but when Quran is presented to us, when it becomes a reality that we bring Islam, we bring the Quran in our life, in a practical life, then when one side we have dunya and the other side we have Allah, then we prefer the dunya for that purposes. Like the example that came in last example that we did, that we are ready to say, like we are ready to read lots of Quran, maybe one juz in the morning, no problem whatsoever. Taraweeh, no problem, we can stand long nights. But as soon as it comes to maybe avoiding taking loan from those banks to start your business, avoiding lying, cheating, backbiting, slandering, all those behaviors, we're not ready to do that. It's not for us, yeah? It's only gupshup, or it's only time passing, or we're only friends and that. And we have to start somehow the business. This is how the new century work, basically. That kind of mentality. So this is where the nifaq comes in, where we have double standards. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not appreciate this. So Allah gives us these sets of groups. Now in here, this is a different section where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to everyone. This is called khitab aam. Everyone Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks directly to. And it's beautiful. We will come to that later on. But here, just to understand what is happening in these few ayats, till ayah number 39, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings this reality that we all need to believe in. If we have any sorts of problems in this, then no matter what we do, it's not acceptable to Allah. That thing is called tawheed. And one portion of that tawheed has been talked in here, tawheed fil ibadah, meaning believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that all our worship, meaning our ajizi, inkisari, our humbleness, our gratitude, everything has to be only for Allah. We lower our head only to Allah. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, then we will follow suit that. If our whims or desires or the culture or the current century demands that we need to do certain things in certain fashion, and we follow those trends, then we haven't really worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we're now worshipping those things, those people, those companies, those whatever they are. Yeah, we have changed. This is not acceptable to Allah. So this is basically what's happening. On this, Allah brings 5 different proofs that why you should worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On this, that comes in. Thereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the Quran itself as well as Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because you will not be able to accept tawheed in anything. It has to come in something that is approved, that's something which is authentic. Like any message that comes or letter comes to our house, we just don't accept anything. Or you need to pay this much amount money to this bank. We just don't take it. We need to check it out. Is it authentic? Is it authorized or not? So this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you what this book is. This is not some sort of a joke. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives challenge that if anyone has any source of doubt, let them bring a surah like it. And there are many other things, but of course we don't have much time, so I don't want to spend time explaining what is happening in these this group of ayats, even though it's beautiful, but of course we don't have time, so we'll just stick to this ayah, what is happening in here. So let's go to the ayah. In here, we saw that so far Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking in third person, like say they, those, alladhina, lahum, whom. This is happening in that fashion, talking in third person. And we understand when people are speaking in third person, then they are distancing themselves. There's a big gap in there. Or especially in the last few examples, Allah talks about a person who is completely isolated, maybe like in a desert. There's like no light, or maybe it's rain and things like that. Well, this is all things so completely long distance. Allah gives images, Allah gives beauty in the ayats of Allah. The way He speaks is beautiful. Now in here, directly, not even through Rasul, that قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ, tell, O Prophet, to them, or قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, yeah, or a group of people. Allah directly saying, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ. Directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the speech comes in. So this is something beautiful. And this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directing us to something amazing, something beautiful. And this is out of love when Allah speaks directly. So this is one thing. Now Allah says, Ya ayyuhan nas, saying that an-nas. There are many explanations, many ulama talks about this an-nas, what this one an-nas is, and we can spend like half an hour on what this word is basically. But we can just say one thing from it, which is related to this ayah. That it comes out from uns. And this is a creature which shows affection, compassion. So this is basically, this An-Nas represent that. This human being, in its true nature, by nature we are loving creatures. We love. If we are around certain people, we kind of create bonds with them. If people are mentioned in front of us, that's why in your houses, we should not be mentioning and talking about this celebrity and that queen and whatever the drama guys are, or this sports star. And because our kids will now start developing love and affection, they would want to be like them. So that's why we avoid this. Because we are by nature loving. We love things. Wherever we are, if we are living in a certain city, even if it to other people looks bad, but we are around that, we start creating, or this connection starts growing. So same thing. With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best love. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. With our master is the greatest. The intense love is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, there come situations where this human being even goes far worse, because you see in Arabic, insan comes out from uns, and the haywan or the animals comes from wahsh, which is completely opposite. Yeah, it's like rigid, it's wild basically. This insan sometimes goes down worse than that. Like asfal as-safilin, goes beyond that, and we can clearly see this is happening in front of our eyes. The animals, when they kill or when they catch their prey, they do it for a purpose. They're hungry, or they only do it to a certain level. But when we become criminals, when we go down worse than animals, we kill for no purpose, we humiliate our own, yeah, like we have seen in the images where people are just left to their underwear, yeah, and the images and videos are out there. This is what we become, yeah, when we lose out our reality. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling us with the beauty, Ya ayyuhan nas, because the next message is extremely crucial. It's very important. If you have any sort of problem in there, we will lose out. So there were many things that I wanted to mention, but we have only taken about 9 minutes. But let's do one word. It says, "U'budu," worship your Lord. Ya ayyuhan nas u'budu rabbakum, worship your Lord. So what is worship? And this is not some sort of, this is basically our response. So previously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we talked about worship, where we said, Iyyaka na'budu. Oh Allah, we only worship you. Yeah, this is this was our agreement with Allah. This is what we said. Now in here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds. That's like the answer of what we said earlier at the beginning, in the beginning of the Quran, in Surah Fatiha. So this is a response to that. Now in here, what does a worship represent basically? That one humbles himself down totally. This ajizi and inkisari. This is what basically is. Utadallul. This when you have put yourself proper down. And they use a word for it, that at-tariqul mu'bad is a path which is paved. Like you see a path which people walk on it, or it has become proper smooth. It does not have any boldages, it does not have anything. So it has become proper straight. Or another one is called al-ba'ir mu'bad, or a camel or a horse, which has been prepared for a rider. So this rider can ride on it. If the rider tells him to sit down, he sits down. So you tell him to go fast, he go fast. You tell him to eat, drink. It does as the master tells him. So this is basically what the abd comes from. That we completely put or humble ourselves down to whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. If He tells us to go to left, we go to left. If He tells us to go to the right, we go to the right. If He tells us to stop, we stop. So this is basically what a abd is. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to enslave yourself totally to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, slavery is completely different, as we said right from the beginning. Because our love or our slavery with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is full of love. يُحِبُّونَهُمْ وَيُحِبُّونَ. Like it comes, yeah? That Allah will love them and they will love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is beautiful. And let me just clarify this point and then we'll finish in here. You see, slavery in the past, what it was? Oppression. If someone do anything wrong, if the slave do something wrong, direct straight away on the spot, they would be punished. But the slavery with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is completely different. We see the slaves of Allah. They curse Allah. They say evil things about Allah to such an extent that He has sons and this and this and this. Yeah, they burn His book. Yeah, they do whatever they do. But as soon as they turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say this is not acceptable, or does the wrath of Allah comes on them directly, or He gives respite and respite and respite till they come back to Allah? If they don't, of course they have whatever is waiting for them in akhirah, but Allah keeps on giving them respite. Does it happen in any other kind of, has it happened in the past, the slavery that we know of? No. So this is full of love, that Allah is calling us with the love. Like it says, we said this in Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wherever we start, in the name of Allah, the extremely loving and caring, the continuously loving caring. This is the true translation of Rahman and Rahim. If we want this love and care which is happening at the end, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. If you want this love and care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has on us in this dunya continuous, you believe in His tawheed and you will be till akhirah. Allah will not let you go in this dunya, neither in akhirah. So may Allah make some of those people who truly understand our Rabb, and we go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way He wants us. Wallahu alam, subhanakallah bihamdik.